Hi, welcome back to my channel, and this video is all about the books that I read in the month of June. So let's just get started. Now, June wasn't actually a really good month for me. I ended up... Speaking of books, they are literally all around my feet. No joke. But June wasn't that great of a month for me insofar as reading because I was focusing more on family time and sitting with my husband, and we were doing Death in Paradise and the Waltons we found on Amazon, which of course just spirals out of control after that. And I was able to get a lot more hands-on projects done. So great times, right? But I did read, or I've been going through a lot of my children's books that I can find on the shelves that I'm not sure if we want to keep or not. And so I've been reading a ton of those. And one of the books was, and I don't have it here because my daughter has it, was The Secret School by Avi, and that was a great book. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see that I posted a like a little tip on how to encourage your children to read more books, and that was one of the books that I encouraged my daughter to read based on a little note I left her. And basically that book is just during, I think it might be just before the Great Depression or during the Great Depression or at the end of the Great Depression, but somewhere in that time frame, little backwards family. It starts off with she and her brother are riding to school in this Ford, and she's driving, but she's got her brother on the floor pushing the pedals as she says what to do, and it's just hilarious. And it turns out that the teacher needs to go away. This girl is about ready to take her 8th grade test so that she can become a teacher, and the teacher goes away. So now it's like, well, I'm not going to get that test if I can't do it. So basically she starts a secret school. They still meet at school, they still do all the types of stuff, but she becomes the teacher. And it's a beautiful story about how she learns to balance the authority that a teacher needs to have, along with still playing with her friends. And of course, is she going to make it to become a teacher or not and be able to do this test? Because when somebody shows up wanting to know which students are going to be taking the test, and she's been playing teacher, you have to read the book to find out the rest. Alright, so that was one book that I really read and enjoyed. So that is going to stay on our shelf. Another one that I read was J.R.R. Tolkien, The Man Who Created Lord of the Rings by Michael Corrin. This is a scholastic biography. I have a video camera that I'm learning to work on. It's my brother's, so you're going to have to bear with me for a little bit. But there you go. That's the book. It's scholastic biography, which of course, most of the time you can't go wrong with those. And this is because I was reading parts of it out loud to my husband, and he wanted to read it. So he already has his notes. This was a great, great read. I am so glad that I took the time to read it. I can't wait to share this experience with my kids. I am actually a reader that has never read Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Cue mic drop or chandelier glass shattering or whatever. No, I haven't read those. They are on my TBR, but I have never read them. So I can't wait to read them, especially knowing a little bit more about the man. Again, going back to books that I'm trying to read through, I did Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. And this is a Newbery Medal, not honor. It actually won the medal. And the little snippet down here says, "Don't judge a man until you've walked 2 moons in his moccasin." I would not give this to my children. Even some of my teens, I don't think I would even give it to my sister. She is going to be 14 this year. I don't even think I would give it to her. And this is about a 13-year-old Native American girl basically dealing with the loss of her mom. And then the whole story is basically her driving with her grandparents to see her mom in Utah. And throughout the whole time, you get some of her escapades with her grandparents, but you also get her telling the story of her friend to her grandparents. And so it's kind of a dual story here. There is some teenage romance going on here a little bit. There's a little bit of language in here. Those were more of the things that kind of bothered me, was the teenage romance. It just was a little difficult to read. Some of the escapades they got in with her friend Phoebe was funny, but at the same time, it was just so much broken up family type of stories that it's not part of our world insofar as my little bubble world. And so this would be hard content for my children to read. I still don't know how I feel about this. It was a neat story. I probably won't read it again. If my children were to pick this up at the library, I don't think I would want them to read it before they were 16, just because of some of the content with her and this other boy. They don't ever go too far. They like hold hands and they do kiss. It's just like, you know what? Don't really need to know all of that, and it's kind of her dealing with it. So I don't, and again, just the whole mother aspect. That's what I consider hard material. Broken up families, I do consider harder material to deal with. So I don't think I would want my child reading this before she was 16. I know a lot of that kind of stuff depends upon maturity, but that's just my viewpoint. But I think I gave it like 3 stars. You can follow me on Goodreads to check out all of my final reviews. Down in the description box below, I will link it up. Okay, let's talk Station 11. Everybody loves this book. I didn't finish it. It was not me at all. I don't like dystopian. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And I kept trying to push myself to enjoy this. And I was like, no, you know what? I have other books I want to read. And so I didn't. Again, I just don't typically go for this type of things. This happens a little bit in the past, where there's this flu epidemic that basically wipes out most of civilization. Those that survive basically recreate civilization. And I just had enough of it when they had gone through a town and end up with a little girl in their wagon. She was 10, I think. I think she was 10 years old, and she was set up to marry a prophet. And I was just done at that point. I don't know where it was going to go. There was some language at that point anyways, and I had enough. So I've heard great reviews on this. Some of the great authors that I do follow, or not authors, but great book reviewers on Instagram love it. So there is that, but I didn't finish that. And I don't even feel bad that I'm not finishing it at all. I have a giveaway for you, but I also want to share with you these 3 books that I did read this month. They are written by Shatona Havoc, and the reason I know how to pronounce that name is because it is my mother. She wrote many books. She is a prolific writer. These are the agency files, and there is Justified Means, Mismatched, and Effective Immediately. And there's actually a 4th one, which is Forgotten Truth, that I have on Kindle. But because I'm just looking at what we're going to be taking with us when we do move and what I need to condense, I do have all of these on Kindle. So I thought it was time to share Shatona Havoc with the rest of my viewers. And so you can win this set, but let me tell you a little bit about it first. This starts off with this girl getting kidnapped, and they keep telling her it's for your own good, it's for your own good. And she's like, I'm being kidnapped. What do you mean it's for my own good? And it turns out there is this group called the Agency. A lot of people assume that they are part of the CIA or the FBI. They're very hush-hush. And she is not a Christian, but the captor is a Christian, which of course throws everything into his tailspin. You know, why are you kidnapping me and you're a Christian? What's going on? And it's a really great story, basically how they really want to keep her safe, but they also have to work on not keeping her too safe in the fact that she is in this situation where she shouldn't feel safe. She has no idea who these people are. So they try to keep giving her opportunities to feel scared, to not get too comfortable with them. It's really interesting. And so you'll have to figure out why she's been taken and why this is such a problem and what she's going to have to do to survive until she can figure out why somebody wants her dead. So that's book 1. Book 2, I have to say, is probably my favorite. Maybe because the content's a little bit close to my heart. But there is this man, he used to be in a biker gang that now wants him dead. He's covered in tattoos. He became a Christian. He kind of turned himself in and gave evidence, you know, for this biker gang. And he's being judged for it because, you know, you're a Christian, but you were part of this awful gang. You know, you're corrupting everybody. And look at what you look like. You know, do you really call yourself a Christian? And it is a beautiful, beautiful story. And again, he's going to get taken by the agency to protect himself, and you're going to learn a little bit more about the workers behind the agency. There is going to be some interesting things happening here that just kind of start leading up to the 3rd book, which brings in the main character from the 1st book and some of the stuff that he has to deal with. So Effective Immediately is basically about Keith. I believe it's Keith. Now I'm freaking out that I have... Yeah, it is Keith. Oh, I love when my memory serves me right. You learn a little bit more about Keith in the 3rd one and some of the struggles that he is going to face as a Christian. He always considers himself a strong Christian, but now he's in a position where he starts second-guessing himself and has to really look for the answers he seeks. You know, is he a safe Christian, or is he a Christian despite of all the things that start happening to him? And again, a little bit of the agency thrown in there and a lot of action packed in here. So these 3 books were ones that I reread, and because my mom is in town, maybe I can get her to sign them to the winner. So in order to win these books, stay tuned. I have a couple more books to share with you before we get to that. Another book I read by Shatona Havig was Not a Word. Oh my goodness, this is probably one of my favorites. You know, it's about high schoolers and 2 reputations. One's kind of wishy-washy and the other one is this good Christian girl. What happens when the girl ends up pregnant and starts a lie? And what happens when he keeps silent the whole time to protect her reputation? That is this story, and it's so beautiful. She moves away, and then she comes back with a son, and things start coming to light, and people start trying to figure out what the true story of is. And it is all about what we want to see, what God sees in us, and the truth that does set you free. Okay, let me just use a cliche. I kind of was a little bit vague on this one just because there is so much in here that I just don't want to give away. Okay, you know what? I glanced down, I saw the back of this, and I have to read it because it says so much that I want to say. Words have power. Add a solid reputation behind those words, and they have the power to destroy. It began with a lie. Mac's life changed irrevocably with a false accusation. Unaware of the carnage she left behind when she moved from Brant's Corner, Savannah Forrester is back, and when Mac sees her at church with a boy, he wants answers. For 8 years, he's lived under the cloud of her accusations without defending himself. He's kept her secret. He endured the shame and the life-altering consequences. Savannah can set the record straight. Max says no. The ultimate question remains, what is best for Rory? That sums it up all right here. So this is not a word by Shatona Havoc. And I believe she has Kindle deals going on right now. I happen to know that there is one free right now. And I'm going to leave it linked down below. So take advantage of it while you can. Then you can get an idea for what Shatona Havoc can put out. So again, one of my favorites, not a word, but I have to say there's even one more series that's my favorite, and that's because it was dedicated to me because I'm awesome. If you've seen my daughter's videos about the Winwood, again, by Shatona Havoc. It's fun when you start pulling things out, trying to decide what you're going to keep and pack, and you find that author that you just love. Metaphorically speaking and realistically speaking, if you know what I mean. Yep. Okay. I have one more book to share with you that I finished. I finished it a little after June, but I'm counting it as June because the majority of it was read in June. Majority of it's been read over the course of a few months, let's be honest, and that is The 13th Tale. This was included in our family reading crate by Emily from ARG Schooling. I'm going to leave that link down below because we so far have been enjoying all of her crates. The adult reads are kind of hit and miss, and this one is a hit. I loved this book, which is weird because I really, really thought I wasn't going to like it. I got about, I would even say, half, 2/3 of the book, and I was just like, I'm not sure about this one. And then it hit home, and it hit well. So let me tell you a little bit about this. This is the story of a woman who is telling her story that nobody knows and everybody has wanted to know for decades. She will only tell it to one person. And she chooses this person after seeing her article that she has put out about twin boys. And so this is her tale. To be honest, when I started reading it, I was all shackled up. I was like, oh no, is this going to get weird? And it starts to, and then the more I was reading it, I kept thinking, you know, this author, she sounds like she has a degree or something in British literature. And so I looked up the author. Guess what? She has a degree in British literature. She is a former academic specializing in 20th century French literature. That explains a lot. And she lives in Yorkshire, England. While reading it, you do get glimpses of Jane Eyre in the story. But it wasn't just Jane Eyre that I kept feeling. I kept feeling a lot of the British crime series that I watched, like Endeavour, Foyle's War, you know, things like that, where it wasn't necessarily the cozy side of things. Midsummer Murders, I think, was another one. Anyway, it isn't the cozy side of things. It has more of the mystery and intrigue and almost borderline goth that a lot of the old writers like Jane Eyre, the Bronte sisters, even Northanger Abbey had. She does a little Jane Austen thing in here too, where she kind of makes fun of that goth just a little bit. She just jabs it and then leaves it, because the person that says it makes me think of the main character in Northanger Abbey that I can't think of, not Catherine, the main guy. And he just says something that I'm like, that is something he would have totally said. And so, again, it brings a lot of those classics because she works in a bookstore with her father. And again, I think if you know that, if you know what to expect in that sense, then you can get through this book. It does have a slow start, but again, it kind of falls along with the British literature type of thing. But once it gets going, I'm so glad that I read this. I would probably read this again and enjoy it. So, this is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. And at the end, you know, I went to bed thinking, well, I shouldn't have read this just before I went to bed. And 2, I think I'm going to give it 3 stars. I really did like it. And then I woke up and said, no, I would actually like to read this again, so I would give it 4 stars. And that's how I choose my star rating. Alright, so let's get back to the giveaway. First of all, these are Christian fiction. What I love about this is that my mom's belief in writing is that the core is how they live their faith. It's not preached. It's shown in their day-to-day life. It's not excluded. They're going to talk about it because if it's a part of you, you do talk about it. But it's the core of the stories is to write a good, clean novel for everybody to enjoy. And so that's something to know. This is Christian fiction. And if you would like to win this 3-volume set, even though there's 4 in these in this series, all you need to do is leave me a comment down below. Have you ever heard of Shatana Havoc? Have you ever read any of Shatana Havoc's? And that's, you know, basically your entry. You're just leaving me a comment so I can add you to the list. So Monday the 16th, I will draw a winner for these, and you will need to be a U.S. resident. I apologize. I know I have some from Canada that watch and some from England, but I apologize. I can't ship these to you. But I will try to leave them linked down below so you can find them on Kindle and enjoy reading them for yourself. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope these have given you some ideas to choose your next read. These are books that I read this month. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. And until next time, farewell.